Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
Times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
Times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to the man,
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome to First Contact Radio. Today is Wednesday, the 28th of January, right here. So we're dealing with a moon sign that is making a transition. It's been in Taurus. It will be in Taurus. Well, we just went void of course, so we're going to be in that void of course phase until this afternoon when we make the transition into Gemini. So we have a sun sign in Aquarius, an air sign, a moon sign, void of course at the moment, going into an air sign. So we're going to have double air as we get on with the day. Okay, so Gemini is an air sign. So what we're dealing with, two signs. Right now we're in a void of course. So a void of course, if you think about, you've got all of the moon signs, and the moon signs change every 2.5 days. But as we're moving through the signs, there's a period of time where each particular moon sign has its effect, let's say a story that it's telling. And we move into that sign and we hear the story of what the moon sign is telling, and then it gets to the end of the story. But we haven't begun the next moon sign yet, so we're still in that void phase where we've ended one story, getting ready to begin the next one, and we have an opportunity to contemplate what it is that we just heard, prepare for the next phase. And that's what a void of course generally is. I mean, there's a bit more to it than that, but that's just a basic idea. They happen quite often because we go through these moon signs every 2.5 days. Not every one of them is a void of course, but quite often. And so in the void of course, we're just sort of in that phase where we're not fully with one sign, we're not in the next, and so sometimes our clarity of our thought isn't as we'd like it to be. And so if we just kind of wait out the times, we find ourselves getting a little clearer. Again, the whole purpose of this is understanding how the energy is moving so we can work the best with it. It's not intended to be something that rules over us, because there's nothing to rule over us. It's just energy. It's like looking out at the weather and seeing what the weather's like and knowing what you should wear when you go outside. That's about it. So we have an air sign, Aquarius, rest of this month, half of next month. Moon signs going into Gemini, which is about communication. And that's what we're dealing with today. A lot of air that's going to happen, especially once we get into this afternoon period when we get out of the void of course, which happens 4:36 p.m. Pacific time. Tonight there's a square, a lesson that's taken place between Venus and Gemini. So squares are always about lessons, something we need to learn. When we get to the other side of that wall or that square, we've gained a great deal of insight. So here our imagination is being tested. Our imagination and how we communicate what it is that we see in our imagination. Because Gemini is all about communication. So communication is in a square with imagination. And it means there's a lesson going on. Okay? Then at 10:44 p.m. Pacific time, we have an aspect going on between this one here, which is Saturn. Saturn is all about discipline, or we could think about it as focus. And the moon sign, Gemini. So communication is going to be in opposition to our discipline. And the teeter-totter here is you got one on one side, one on the other, and we've all been on a teeter-totter. When someone jumps off, it throws everything out of whack. So we hope that both will play nice together, and we'll learn something value from it about how to focus what it is that we're trying to communicate. And again, this comes after we learned a lesson about communication and imagination. So everything kind of plays upon everything else. You know, when we work with these energies and we see them, it's a progressive set of energy, because there's always another energy that comes in and affects what we've previously done, and then there's going to be another energy that's going to come in. So we're just really preparing for the next phase of energy, and working with it progressively. And as we get better and better at it, it makes it easier and smoother, and we just kind of cruise through all these times because we understand what's coming up and what the energy is we need to be dealing with. Okay? So that's the rest of today there. The Jewish calendar today's 8 Shavat is the name of today. Shavat is the month. We're in the year 5775. And the daily thought for today is be quiet. There are questions to which God says to be quiet, to be still, to cease to ask. The quietness, the stillness, the abandonment of being, that itself is the answer. The moon phase is currently at 65% of the way full, making its way up to a full moon. Space weather, 421.0 kilometers per second is the current solar wind speed. Planetary K-index is quiet between a 2 and a 3. This coronal hole here is suddenly opened up a lot larger, almost twice as wide as what it was. I'm sure that we'll be getting some effect from this, though there isn't any notification at this time. M-class flare possibilities at 40%. X-class is at 10. 30% going from 20 to 30 geomagnetic storm activity in the mid-latitudes, and increasing in the upper latitudes as well from 30 to 40. So we are having some activity taking place. We could just see as things are progressing. And my guess is as we pay attention to this coronal hole here, we're going to be finding ourselves getting hit from some solar wind coming off of it. Right? And up in the sky tonight, here's our moon sign, the Pleiades just up to the left of it. Down below that, almost directly below the Pleiades, will be Aldebaran. And then Taurus off to the left here. It says look for the Pleiades over the moon at nightfall as shown above. The scene rotates clockwise as the evening advances. Okay. So there you have it. That is what we're dealing with for today, the cosmic weather for Wednesday the 28th of January 2015. UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. So we have a couple stories today. The first one takes us out to the asteroid that was passing by, 2004 BL86, but it has apparently a friend traveling with it. This is a source that comes from NASA, as these sources usually do. The asteroid has a flying orbit, as a UFO flying around orbit around it. We can see from the detailed photo of the craft is diameter shaped and flat. NASA, of course, goes on to say that this flat object, which does not flip over end, is a moon. Wrong. Any moon this thin would be tumbling over the end. The object is keeping itself steady, flying like a ship would. It was captured by Street Cap 1. Okay. So let's get another look here at this video, see what it shows. It's a total of 1 minute 17 seconds. This is the asteroid being trailed by a UFO. Okay, so something definitely there. Interesting indeed. Okay, links available so you can check it out, see what you think. Apparent UFO activity over Lumby captured on video. North Okanagan in Canada appears to be a UFO hotspot with many reported sightings of unidentified flying objects. The latest one comes from Lumby, where a cell phone camera captured strange lights. Delby Gelter says the lights appeared before her eyes on 3 different occasions from her home in Lumby. She felt a bit of fear upon seeing something strange and excitement to tell somebody about it. On a 3rd occasion, Gelter saw 2 lights in the evening and called her son to use his phone and take video of the lights. Gelter says 2 lights had moved slowly at first, but then they moved backwards at tremendous speed. Gelter was shocked because the activity was the weirdest thing she ever witnessed. Amateur astronomer Jim Fales says the flashing in the video doesn't twinkle like a star or planet shining in the evening sky, ruling out natural objects. However, Fales is a member of the Royal Astronomy Society of Canada and notes that it does not exclude man-made objects, even the kind of terrestrial used to create a hoax. Alright, so there you go. It's over Lumby. Moving from Lumby, we're going to go to the Midwest. UFO sightings in the Great Lake regions continue. While the rest of the country seems to be tied up in this or that possible snowstorm or punitive presidential candidate, some even strange things keep getting and happening quietly out of public view. Take the UFO Bigfoot sightings of an entire neighborhood up in near Rochester, New York, which have been exercising and fascinating the locals for the better part of a year now. What began at last March has become almost a nightly vigil for this Wayne County community. There have been 3 times in the last 2 weeks when yours truly has received literally dozens of photos a night taken of brightly lit objects hovering over houses of the principal witnesses, some received in real time as they were happening. In addition to some of the pictures featured in this article, a selection of those spots can be seen here. Strange lights have also been filmed over nearby woods where the same witnesses have seen evidence not only of what seems to be more than one Bigfoot, but also of possible government or military activity. Unidentified black vehicles show up parked on the streets, and when approached, they quickly drive away. Unmarked helicopters have been spotted flying low over houses. This would seem all too classic and perhaps too difficult to believe, except apparently some folks have been seeing similar kind of things over Lake Ontario and Lake Erie over the Canadian side in the last few months as well. The most common sighting in these consists of bright orange or reddish light, sometimes resembling a star-shaped light that is entirely too low to be a celestial object and is not moving. Brian Veik has been doing an excellent job detailing these recent Canadian sightings on his blog, and his work is highly recommended. The Rochester, New York area has been a hotspot for UFO activity in the past, as a number of online articles attest to, right here and here and here. Famous Gary Wilcox landing and contact case happened just a few miles away from the present sightings. What makes this particular Wayne County case so intriguing is that much of the neighborhood appears to be involved in the sightings. Virtually every evening, visitation has numerous witnesses of varied ages and circumstances. A good on-site investigation is needed in this instance to get the timelines and specifics straight. All right. Moving from there, let's jump over to California. Police officer witnesses a low-altitude triangular UFO. A little drawing of what was seen. Retired police officer watching a low-flying boomerang-shaped UFO that moved over Dothenburg Road in Turlock, California, about 7 p.m. on the 24th of January. He said it was a foggy night, but there were white lights in the backwards triangle, possibly a boomerang shape. Said it was difficult to see in the fog. Haze layer about 102 feet above my truck, moving slowly at first, then speeding up and quickly disappearing into the fog. Said it was heading northbound over the houses, going towards the cornfield north of Tuolumne Road. No sound. His wife was riding in the passenger seat, but was looking down at her phone. When I pointed out it, she did not see it before it disappeared into the fog or haze bank. I'm a retired police officer and veteran USAF aircraft crew chief and veteran Army intelligence. It did not appear to look like any aircraft I am familiar with. It was very strange. Alright, so there you go. There's our drawing. Basically what he thought he saw. And one last piece here. This was Rendlesham Forest. UFO over Rendlesham Forest. Helicopter gives chase. George Taylor recently, this was from January 26th, filmed these lights, which could easily be a UFO over Rendlesham Forest. The video shows a military helicopter even giving chase or attempting to get a better look at the UFO. The Rendlesham Forest UFO incident is still a mystery today. It is one of the most compelling UFO cases on record with some of the most impeccable witnesses. The incident occurred in December of 1980 in the United Kingdom. Military personnel witnessed UFOs over a several-day period. It culminated with UFO landing on the military base and one of the witnesses touching the craft. We've all been duped in the past with excellent or compelling video, which has turned out to be ill-advised marketing stunt. So let's see how this plays out over the next few days. Video itself is 36 seconds. You can see the helicopter is flying behind something and just went into the clouds there. Okay, you can see it in the clouds, a luminous object. Okay, there you go. That is our UFO news for today. I'll be back. We shall continue on with the origin of the world from the Nag Hammadi text. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Great Spirit, send down your love, send down your love, send down your love to us from above. Great Spirit, send down your love, send down your love, send down your love to us from above. Oh, 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 Great Spirit.
Alright, shall we continue on? So we've been, this book here, this passage, this is from the article entitled On the Origin of the World. And this is one of the texts that was found in Nag Hammadi at the Nag Hammadi Library. So we're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday. So we just got done talking about the olive tree. And here we go. And the first soul, Psyche, loved Eros, who was with her, and poured her blood upon him and upon the earth. And out of the blood the rose first sprouted up out of the earth, out of the thorn bush, to be a source of joy for the light that was to appear in the bush. Moreover, after this beautiful, good-smelling flower sprouted up from the earth, different kinds from every single virgin of the daughters of Pronoia. And when they had become enamored of Eros, they poured out their blood upon him and upon the earth. After these, every plant sprouted up from the earth, different kinds, containing the seed of the authorities and their angels. After these, the authorities created out of the waters all species of beasts, and the reptiles and birds, different kinds, containing the seed of the authorities and their angels. But before all of these, when he had appeared on the first day, he remained upon the earth something like 2 days, and left lower Pronoia in heaven, and ascended towards the light, and immediately darkness covered all of the universe. Now when she wished, the Sophia, who was in the lower heaven, received authority from Pistis, and fashioned great luminous bodies in all the stars. And she put them in the sky to shine upon the earth, and to render temporal signs, and seasons, and years, and months, and days, and nights, and moments, and so forth. And in this way the entire region upon the sky was adorned. Now an atom of light conceived the wish to enter the light, for example, the eighth heaven. He was unable to do so because of the poverty that had mingled with his light. Then he created for himself a vast eternal realm, and within that eternal realm he created 6 eternal realms and their adornments, 6 in number, that were 7 times better than the heavens of chaos and their adornments. Now all of these eternal realms and their adornments exist within the infinity that is between the eighth heaven and the chaos below it, being counted with the universes that belong to poverty. If you want to know the arrangement of these, you will find it written in the seventh universe of the prophet Hierelius. And before Adam had light withdrawn into the chaos, the authorities saw him and laughed at the prime parent because he had lied when he said, "It is I who am God, no one exists before me." When they came to him, they said, "It is not the work of God who ruined our work," he answered, and said, "Yes, if you do not want him to be able to ruin our work, come and let us create a man out of the earth, according to the image of our body and according to the likeness of this being, to serve us, so that when he sees his likeness, he might become enamored of it. No longer will he ruin our work. Rather, we shall make those who are born of the light our servants for all the duration of this eternal realm." Now all of this came to pass according to the forethought of Pistis, in order that the man should appear after his likeness and should condemn them because of their mottled form. And their mottled form became an enclosure of the light. And the authorities received the knowledge, or gnosis, necessary to create man. Sophia Zoe, she who is with Sabaoth, had anticipated them, and she laughed at their decision. For they are blind against their own interests. They ignorantly created him, and they do not realize what they are about to do. The reason she anticipated them and made her own man first was in order that he might instruct their modeled form on how to despise them and on how to escape from them. Now the production of the instructor came as follows. When Sophia let fall a droplet of light, it flowed onto the water, and immediately a human being appeared, being androgynous. That droplet she modeled as the first female body. Afterwards, using the body, she molded it into the likeness of the mother, which had appeared. And he finished it in 12 months. An androgynous human being was produced, whom the Greeks called Hermaphrodites, and whose mother the Hebrews call Eve of life, or Zoe, namely, the first female instructor of life. Her offspring is the creature that is the Lord. Afterwards, the authorities call it beast, so that it might lead astray their modeled creatures. The interpretation of the beast is the instructor, for it was found to be the wisest of all things. Now Eve is the first virgin, the one who without a husband bore her first offspring. It is she who served as her own midwife. For this reason she is held to have said, "It is I who am part of my mother, it is I who am the mother. It is I who am the wife, it is I who am the virgin. It is I who am pregnant, it is I who am the midwife. It is I who am the one that comforts pains of travail. It is my husband who bore me, and it is I who am his mother. And it is he who is my father and my Lord. It is he who is my force. What he desires, he says with reason. I am the process of becoming, yet I have born man as Lord." Now these, through the will, the souls that were going to enter the modeled forms of the authorities were manifested to Sabaoth and his Christ. And regarding these, the holy voice said, "Multiply and improve. Be Lord over all creatures." And it is they who were taken captive according to their destinies by the prime parent, and thus they were shut into the prisons of the modeled forms until the consummation of the age. And at that time the prime parent then rendered an option concerning man to those who were with him. Then each of them cast his sperm into the midst of the navel of the earth. And since that day the 7 rulers have fashioned man with his body resembling their body, but his likeness resembling the man that appeared to them. His modeling took place by parts, one at a time, and their leader fashioned the brain and the nervous system. Afterwards he appeared as prior to him. He became a soul-endowed man. He was called Adam, that is, father, according to the name of the one that existed before him. And when they had finished Adam, he abandoned him as an inanimate vessel, since he had taken form like an abortion, and that no spirit was in him. Regarding this thing, when the chief ruler remembered the saying of the Pistis, he was afraid lest the true man enter his modeled form and become its lord. For this reason he left the modeled form 40 days without a soul, and he withdrew and abandoned it. Now in the 40th day Sophia Zoe sent a breath into Adam, who had no soul, and he began to move upon the ground. He could not stand up. When the 7 rulers came, they saw him and were greatly disturbed. They went up and they seized him, and he, the chief ruler, said, the breath within him, "Who are you, and whence did you come from?" It answered and said, "I have come from the force of the man for the destruction of your work." When they heard, they glorified him, since they gave him respite from fear and the anxiety in which they found themselves. Then they called that day Rest, inasmuch as they had rested from the toil. And when they saw that Adam could stand, they were glad, and they took him and they put him in paradise, and they withdrew up to their heavens. After the first day of rest, Sophia sent her daughter Zoe, being called Eve, as an instructor, in order that she might make Adam, who had no soul, arise, so that those whom he should engender might become containers of light. When Eve saw that her male counterpart was prostrate, she had pity on him. She said, "Adam, become alive, arise upon the earth." Immediately her word became accomplished fact, for Adam, having arisen, suddenly opened his eyes. When he saw her, he said, "You shall be called Mother of the Living, for it is you who have given me life." Then the authorities were informed that their modeled form was alive and had risen, and they were greatly troubled. They sent 7 archangels to see what had happened. They came to Adam, and when they saw Eve talking to him, they said to one another, "What sort of thing is this luminous woman? For she resembles that likeness which appeared to us in the light. Now come, let us lay hold of her, and cast her seed into her, so that she becomes soiled, and she may not be able to ascend into her light. Rather, those whom she bears will be under our charge. But let us not tell Adam, for he is not one of us. Rather, let us bring a deep sleep over him, and let us instruct him in his sleep to the effect that she came from his rib, in order that his wife may obey, and he may be lord over her." Then Eve, being a force, laughed at their decision. She put mist into their eyes, and secretly left her likeness with Adam. She entered the tree of knowledge and remained there. And they pursued her, and she revealed to them that she had gone into the tree and became a tree. Then, entering a great state of fear, the blind creatures fled. Afterwards, when they had recovered from the daze, they came to Adam, and seeing the likeness of this woman with him, they were greatly disturbed, thinking that she was the true Eve. And they acted rashly, and they came up to her and seized her and cast their seed upon her. They did so wickedly, defiling not only the natural ways, but also the foul ways, defiling first the seal of her voice that had spoken with them, saying, "What is that exists before you?" intending to defile those who might say at the consummation of the age that they had been born of the true man through the verbal expression. And they erred, not knowing that it was their own body that they had defiled. It was the likeness that the authorities and their angels defiled in every way. First she was pregnant with Abel by the first ruler, and it was by the 7 authorities and their angels that she bore the other offspring. And all this came to pass according to the forethought of the prime parent, so that the first mother might bear within her every seed, being mixed and being fitted to the fate of the universe and its configurations, and to justice. A prearranged plan came into effect regarding Eve, so that the modeled forms of the authorities might become enclosures of the light, whereupon it would condemn them through their modeled forms. Now the first Adam of the light, is spirit endowed, and appeared on the first day. The second Adam is a soul endowed, and appeared on the 6th day, which is called Aphrodite. The third Adam is the creature of the earth, that is the man of the law, and he appeared on the 8th day, and tranquility of poverty, which is called the day of the sun. And the progeny of the earth, Adam, became numerous, and was completed, and produced within itself every kind of scientific information of the soul-endowed Adam, but all were in ignorance. Now let me say that once the rulers had seen him and the female creature who was with him erring ignorantly like beasts, they were very glad. When they learned that the immortal man was not going to neglect him, rather that they would even have to fear the female creature that had turned into a tree, they were disturbed and said, "Perhaps this is the true man, this being who brought a fog upon us, and has taught us that she who was soiled is like him, so that we shall be conquered." Then the 7 of them together laid plans. They came up to Adam and Eve timidly. They said to them, The fruit of the trees created for you in paradise shall be eaten, but as for this tree of knowledge, control yourself, and do not eat from it, because if you eat from it, you will die." Having imparted great fear into them, they withdrew up to their authorities. And then the wisest creature of all, who was called Beast, and when they saw the likeness of their mother Eve, he said to her, "What did God say to you? Was it, 'Do not eat from the tree of knowledge'?" She said, "He not only said, 'Do not eat from it,' but 'Do not touch it, lest you die.' He said to her, 'Do not be afraid. In death you shall not die, for he knows that when you eat from it, your intellect will become sober, and you will become like the gods, recognizing the difference that obtains between evil and good ones. Indeed, it was in jealousy that he said to you, so that you would not eat from it." Now Eve had confidence in the words of the instructor. She gazed at the tree and saw that it was beautiful and appetizing, and liked it. She took some of its fruits and ate it, and she gave some to her husband, and he ate it too. Then their intellect became open, for when they had eaten, the light of knowledge had shone upon them. When they clothed themselves with shame, they knew that they were naked of knowledge. When they became sober, they saw that they were naked and became enamored of one another. When they saw that the ones who had modeled them had the form of beasts, they loathed them. They were very aware. Then when the rulers knew that they had broken the commandments, they entered paradise and came to Adam and Eve with earthquake and great threatening to see the effect of the aid. Then Adam and Eve trembled greatly and hid under the trees in paradise. When the rulers did not know where they were and said, "Adam, where are you?" he said, "I am here, for though fear of you, because I hid, being ashamed." He said to me ignorantly, "Who told you about the shame with which you clothed yourself, unless you have eaten from that tree?" He said, "The woman who you gave to me, it is she that gave to me, and I ate." They said to the latter, "What is it that you have done?" She answered and said, "It is the instructor who urged me on, and I ate." Then the rulers came up to the instructor. Their eyes became misty because of him, and they could not say anything to him. They cursed him, since they were powerless. Afterwards they came up to the woman and cursed her and her offspring. After the woman they cursed Adam and the land because of him, and the crops and the things that they had created they cursed. They have no blessing. Good cannot result from evil. From that day the authorities knew that there was something mightier than they that had recognized. They recognized only that their commandments had not been kept. Great jealousy was brought into the world solely because of the immortal man. Now when the rulers saw that their Adam had entered into the alien state of knowledge, they desired to test him, and they gathered together all of the domestic animals and the wild beasts of the earth, and the birds of heaven, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. When he saw them, he gave names to their creatures. And they became troubled because Adam had recovered from all of the trials. They assembled and laid plans, and they said, "Behold Adam, he has come to be like one of us, so that he knows the difference between the light and the dark. Now perhaps he will be deceived, as in the case of the tree of knowledge, and also will come to the tree of life and eat from it, and become immortal, and become Lord, and despise us and disdain us in all our glory. Then he will denounce us along with our universe. Come, let us expel him from paradise down to the land from which he was taken, so that henceforth he might not be able to recognize anything better than we can." And so they expelled Adam from paradise along with his wife. And this deed they had done was not enough for them. Rather, they were afraid. They went into the tree of life, surrounded it with great fearful things, fiery living creatures called cherubim, and then they put a flaming sword in their midst, fearfully twirling at all times, so that no earthly being might ever enter that place. Thereupon, once the rulers were envious of Adam, they wanted to diminish their lifespans. They could not, however, because of the fate which had been fixed since the beginning, for each had been allotted a lifespan of 1,000 years according to the course of the luminous bodies. But although the rulers could not do this, each of the evildoers took away 10 years, and all this lifespan which remained amounted to 930 years, and these are in pain and weakness and evil distraction. And so life has turned out to be from that day until the consummation of the age. Then when Sophia Zoe saw that the rulers of the darkness had laid a curse upon her counterparts, she was indignant, and coming out of the first heaven with full power, she chased those rulers out of the heavens and cast them down into the sinful world, where they should dwell in the form of evil spirits upon the earth, so that in the world it might come to pass, thousands years in paradise, a soul-endowed flame living called Phoenix. It kills itself and brings itself to life as a witness to the judgment against them, for they did wrong to Adam and his generation upon the consummation of the age. There are 3 men and also his posteriors unto the consummation of the world, the spirit endowed of eternity, and the soul endowed and the earthly, likewise the 3 phoenixes in paradise. The first is immortal, the second lives 1,000 years. As for the third, it is written in the sacred book that it is consumed. So too there are 3 baptisms. Just as in the phoenix appears in the witness of the concerning angel, so is the case of the water hydrae in Egypt, which has been... Actually, there are 3 baptisms. The first is of spiritual, the second by fire, the third by water. Just as the phoenix appears as a witness concerning the angels, so the case of the water hydrae in Egypt, which has become a witness to those going down into the baptism of true man. The 2 bulls in Egypt possess a mystery, the sun and the moon, being a witness to the Sabaoth, namely that over them Sophia received the universe. From that day she made the sun and the moon, and she put a seal upon the heaven until eternity. All right, there's a lot more to go here. Let's go ahead and stop right here. And we'll pick up here tomorrow. All right, so it's a lot of information. I'm certain that you see, as I do, that this story is a bit different than the book of Genesis story. It's a little bit more detailed. It makes a bit more sense. And I've been reading through, not only the Apocryphon of John, but I've gone through and I've read a number of the other ones, which we're going to get to eventually, from the Nag Hammadi. And they're all talking about the same thing. Just the same story, but from different perspectives. So by the time we go through all of these different scriptures, you will see, as I have seen, that what took place is a whole lot different than what has been told. And when we really understand what took place, it kind of helps us to understand who we are, why we're here, what we're doing, and who really has any control of us and who really doesn't have any control of us. So I think it's very insightful. I'm glad to have embarked upon this journey in these writings, and I hope that you are too. But we'll pick up tomorrow where we left off here. In the meantime, let's jump over to an article here. This is at N5D. It is called Angels and Spiritual Evolution by Wes Annick. One of the ideas that's tossed around the conscious community is that there are other planes of existence beyond the physical earth. With dedication, effort, and patience, we can raise our vibration and become higher vibrational beings who look upon the earth and the lower realms with the desire to help its people evolve. Some people think there's more to life than other human levels of existence, and beyond this realm exist other more advanced ones that boast the angels we have heard about from religion. I'm open to the idea that angels exist, and I think that they're higher vibrational beings who do what they can to help us to understand our spiritual nature and let the divine into our lives. In order to raise our vibration enough to find enlightenment, we'll have to open our minds and consider concepts we might not have taken seriously a short time ago. The conscious community's nothing if not open-minded, but every now and then I notice an element of closed-mindedness with some seekers. Some are unwilling to open up the concepts like angels that are associated with contemporary religion, but others have considered that higher vibrational beings like angels, archangels, etc. exist and could want to assist us. We rebel against contemporary religion in this day and age because of its obvious falsities and the things its leaders do to control people, but this doesn't mean some religions don't contain glimmers of truth. I think there's a difference between genuine and distorted spirituality, and one of the things we can learn about if we open our minds a little is the existence of angels in higher states of consciousness. We can also grasp the idea if we become angels by raising our vibration and spiritually evolving. As we become angels, but becoming angels isn't actually our goal. The goal of the seeker who wants enlightenment is to reach the highest, purest state of consciousness that can be attained, which exists beyond any higher realm will reach any time soon. Complete, unhindered union with the Source takes place on a level far beyond the angelic realms or any other higher realms, and to merge with the Source requires us to transcend every lower and higher realm and to reach this indescribable state of consciousness where we're one with our Creator and our individually has caused. The purpose of this article isn't to focus so much onto the Source as the idea that we're incarnate angels who, with focus, effort, and little patience, can rediscover our angelic heritage and raise our vibration to the point that we reassume the angelic form we left behind before we came to Earth. Depending on how heavily you want to rumor certain New Agey concepts, you could say we all came here from higher realms, wherein our form was more angelic than human. Again, I think angel is just a label to describe a higher vibrational being who's focused on helping Earth. Those of us who are here to raise the collective vibration could very well be angels who wanted to uplift humanity, and when our job is done, we'll return to our angelic form and continue up the ladder of spiritual evolution until we reach the pure, unified state of consciousness where we give up any limited labels, judgments, or perceptions. Okay, more to the article here about the angels, so I'm going to leave that for you to read. Says the body we can, at the end, we can embody the form of angels or the Source to the best of our ability right here on Earth if we're willing to discipline ourselves, and we might be glad we did. The bliss we'll enjoy will be worth any effort we make to retain it. It will eventually be open, receptive spiritual seekers who understand our godliness and are willing to use it to help others. All right, very good. So, good long article. Check it out. But now, in light of what has been written about the angels in these various writings in the Nag Hammadi, it certainly gives a lot of food for thought, because there were angels that were created directly from the Mother, Father, God, the All-Parent. The Autogens was created by the Mother, the Father, and then these other angelic beings were created in these other realms. And then you have Yaldabaoth and all of the angels that he created, which seem to be the angels that are associated with this world that we're in. So the angels we're dealing with, which of the angels are we dealing with that were angels created directly by Yaldabaoth, and which are the ones that came from the Creator? And is there a difference? Just something to consider as we're considering what angels are all about. All right, here's a galactic message today. It comes from Saul.
Saul, the power of your loving intentions is tremendous.
January 28, 2015, by John Smallman.
Saul,
humanity is on a roll towards the moment of awakening. As you read the mainstream news media reports of conflict, wars, crime, and corruption all over the world, that may not seem to you to be a valid assessment, but I assure you it is. Yes, there is much going on that is unloving and causing suffering in the world today, but it is for the most part the result of an enormous clearing and releasing of the old energies of fear that have maintained and supported the illusion and those who would suppress and control you through it. The unloving energies, mostly of fear, that have been predominant on Earth for eons are dissolving as more and more of you turn towards love in your relationships, and make the intent to be loving in every situation. The power of your loving intentions is tremendous, and those who would maintain the old ways through fear and force are now desperately attempting to raise the level of fear across the world, because they urgently need those energies as they attempt to fortify the underpinnings of their power base and prevent its collapse. This they cannot do. The tsunami of love is unstoppable and totally irresistible, and it is sweeping away the energies of fear that have held you in the thrall of the dark ones. You are well aware of the massive uncovering of lies, deceits, and corruption that governments and international corporations have been involved with, as investigative journalists and whistleblowers determinedly and courageously publish vast amounts of evidence that has been concealed, in order to allow those in positions of worldly power to carry out their destructive agendas. Arousing your fears has been one of the ways they used to justify their unjustifiable secrecy, claiming that it was in your best interests to allow them to do things in secret to keep you safe. It has now become abundantly clear how badly they have deceived you and betrayed your trust in them over the eons. A few of your politicians, while promising transparency during their election campaigns over the last few decades, have totally failed to deliver on those promises. Some indeed had good intentions, but the power and influence of the political machine run wild presented them with insurmountable barriers on that front, and so they turned their attention elsewhere. And the increasingly raucous attempts by the mainstream media, under governmental and corporate control, to instill worldwide fear of terrorism are failing abysmally. Humanity will never again submit to fear. Love is the power, the energy field of infinite potential in which creation rests in constant alert awareness. That potential is the creative idea that God unveiled at the moment of creation, and it is eternally present throughout reality, available in every moment for His children to develop and expand. Fear is the absence of love, absence of that creative potential. It is illusory, but when believed in leads to depression, helplessness, and hopelessness. Do not engage with it, because you do have a choice, and when you choose fear instead of reality, love, you give power and energy to the illusion, and that you do not want to do. There is no one among you who enjoys being in fear, no one. But when you are in fear, you cannot avoid projecting it outwards, sharing it and extending it. Instead, refuse it, and embrace love. You can do that, and you have limitless assistance from those in the spiritual realms to ensure your success. Fear is also a state of mind, an unpleasant and personally power-draining aspect of the illusion. Love is reality. Embrace love and fear dissolves, because anything that is not in alignment and harmony with love is unreal and cannot therefore hold out against it. Being of the illusion, it just ceases to exist. Increasing numbers of you are realizing this every day, and are refusing to be cowed into submission any longer. The days of darkness, fear, and unquestioning compliance are over, because humanity has chosen to awaken from the nightmare in which it has been resting for eons. The underlying assumptions upon which most of your laws rely are being deeply questioned, and those assumptions are being proven, in nearly every instance, to be false. A new era has truly dawned, and initially that appears to be rather unsettling. That is hardly surprising, because you have become so conditioned to obeying mindless rules and regulations that when they are removed you feel for a moment quite unsteady. It is like experiencing a momentary sense of dizziness if you stand up too quickly after a catnap or after your meditation, but it clears quickly as you return to fully conscious alertness. So, I shall remind you yet again, love is. There is nothing else. Anything that is not in alignment with love is utterly unreal, and is only seemingly real when you close your hearts, allowing illusions to fill that empty space from which you have chosen to shut out love. Open your hearts, invite love to embrace them and flow through them to all sentient life, and experience the peace and contentment that that open state reveals. Love is eternally and infinitely peaceful. When you operate from love, from your natural state, there is no fear, no anxiety, no conflict, no damaging competitiveness, just glorious and harmonious cooperation. In that state, worries and concerns dissolve, because there is no room for them, as you are completely filled with love, and nothing else is sought or needed. Needs of all kinds are the tools of fear, tools that are now being seen to be broken and irreparable. In their place lies abundance, waiting for your acceptance of it so that it can, by your allowing, dispel all humanity's needs. All is in place for your awakening and for your release from the illusion. When you take your daily time alone in meditation, prayer, or contemplation, be sure to remind yourselves that you are never alone, that you are always in the company of your spiritual guides and mentors, who watch over you, constantly offering you the love that you have so often sought, with a noticeable lack of success, outside yourselves. Love is your nature, and you are never separated from it, just temporarily unaware. Open your awareness. Allow love to embrace you warmly and enthusiastically, just as it wants to. With so very much love, Saul.
All right, good message from Saul. That brings us to message from the Warrior of the Light, the next passage, and our meditation. So the Warrior of the Light passage says, "A warrior knows that his best teachers are the people with whom he shares the battlefield. It's dangerous to ask for advice. It is even more dangerous to give advice. When he needs help, he tries to see how his friends resolve or fail to resolve their problems. If he is in search of inspiration, he reads on the lips of his neighbors the words that his guardian angel is trying to say to him. When he is tired or lonely, he does not dream about distant men and women. He turns to the person beside him and shares his sorrow or his need for affection with them, with pleasure and without guilt. A warrior knows that the farthest flung star in the universe reveals itself in the things around him. Let's go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and exhale. Take another deep breath and exhale again. And another deep breath and exhale. Now just imagine yourself walking along the path of life, the path that we walk each and every day. And as you're walking around the world along the path, you see all sorts of people doing all sorts of things. And as you look closely, you see these people are being inspired by angels and some by demons, and all sorts of ways in which people are being inspired to move through life. And we think about all the intentions in the world, and we recognize that with these intentions of the angels and the demons, there's all sorts of opportunities for confusions and misunderstandings and ways of moving through the world. And we just focus on love, because love is the one consistent force that flows through us from all around us. Love is the force that cannot be closed out, because it is the essence of everything that exists, and therefore it can only be hidden until it is revealed, at which point it is never hidden again. So see the love that is shining from each and every individual you see, no matter who it is or what they're doing. Just observe that there is love within them at some place, and send some energy that this love may grow. And as you do so, and as others do so, we find that we encourage the love in each of us to grow stronger and brighter. And as it grows stronger and brighter, we shine truthfulness into the world, the truthfulness of love. And we find our ways changing, and our path becomes smoother. So let's just imagine going into the world today, just seeing love wherever we go, and sending out positive vibes to encourage it to grow. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. And that's it for today, my friends. Thank you very much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll continue on with, we'll finish up the origin of the world. And we'll get into the discussion of that, a little breakdown of what it is, either tomorrow or the next day. In the meantime, just look for love in the world. You'll see it everywhere you go. We just sometimes need to encourage it to come out. That's it. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.